So Kim is a representative of Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, and decided to run for office last year. He won, and as a rookie state senator, state
rep.
You call it a rookie first year?
Yeah.
Rookie.
Freshman.
As a freshman, his project right now is to help with insurance reform. So before I get started, I want to say, the reason why we thought it was a good idea to have Kim come talk about insurance reform is because there's a lot of people are focusing on the NAR lawsuits right now. And this is my interpretation, or one of my interpretations of that. That NAR, the lawsuits are going to affect how you do business. There's no doubt about that. But it's not going to affect the ability for you to do business. You're just going to have to do it in a little different way. What I believe is going to have a bigger impact on whether you can actually do business in 2024 and beyond is the fact that interest rates are already higher than we've had them over the last couple of years. Insurance is higher than it's ever been, and Kim's trying to help solve that problem. We'll talk about that in a minute. The third thing that everybody is not aware of is that 2024 is a reassessment year. And the tax assessor for St. Tammany Parish was going to come talk today. He decided last minute, that he wasn't going to come. And if y'all have feelings about that like I do, we can let him know that we would really appreciate that if he came and gave us some insight on what's going on. So I'm going to give you what I know about it. In 2020 was the last year that taxes were reassessed in the state of Louisiana. Every 4 years, the assessor reassesses the taxes, and they increase the fair market values of properties to be able to calculate the new tax rate. We all know what has happened since 2020. The market has spiked, prices of houses have gone up, and so what that's going to mean is that what could happen is that the assessors in each parish could decide to increase the tax rate that everybody's paying. When you sign on the dotted line, it's not really dotted, it's a solid line, but when you sign on that line at closing in our office, and we told you that your obligation is to pay the principal and interest, taxes, and insurance, no matter what those are. The principal and interest is going to stay the same. The taxes and insurance can go up, and they usually do. But right now, people are having a hard time making their monthly payments because of insurance.
That's right.
And next year, or even later this year, taxes are going to go up. And so y'all need to be educating your clients, and I'm going to give you some ideas on who you can be educating when it comes to that. The homeowner who may have stretched themselves a little thin when they bought this house in 2020, 2021, is going to need to know that their taxes are going to go up this year. And those people that you did business for, helped buy a house in 2020 and 2021, you should be calling those people and saying, look, historically, statistics have shown and reports have shown that people are unhappy with their purchase that they bought during the COVID crisis. Houses were flying off the market. They felt they had to settle for things. And so there's an opportunity there. But also knowing that the taxes are going to go up, you can tell them ahead of time before they get themselves in a bind that, hey, this is a reality. We need to look at this and see what's going to happen. Have hard conversations with some people and try to get them in a position or be preparing for something that may come down the road. Because Courtney's going to talk in a second. Courtney and John and I at Arena are solving a lot of people's problems right now. People are going into foreclosure more than I've ever seen in my career because these things are happening and they're oblivious and they're acting like they don't know. It's our job as real estate professionals to educate them and let them know this is happening. And so if I were in your shoes, I would be reaching out to all my clients who bought over the last 3 to 5 years and letting them know this is a real thing that's going to be happening this year. A second group of people that people do not think about are real estate investors that bought a ton of properties over the last couple of years, basing those decisions on margins that they were hoping that they were going to hit. But as the insurance goes up, that eats into those margins. And then as the taxes go up, they may be upside down on their investments. And we've worked with Courtney again and other real estate investors, saving other investors who are in a hard spot because they can't make the money, they can't refinance out because the rates don't work. And they may be upside down on some of their properties and owing people money on short-term debt that they thought they were going to be able to get out of, but they can't, right? So that's 3 different groups of people that you can reach out to. One, people who bought over the last couple of years. Talk to them and find out if they're anticipating this and if they can take the hit if the taxes go up along with the insurance. Real estate investors who bought over the last couple of years, anticipating a return, and bought a lot, and maybe in a bind, that you can help them sell a portfolio before it gets too bad. And third, are meeting with people like Courtney and coming to these events and meeting other investors that are buying properties right now. Because that if you did like Courtney did, put yourself in the right position when these markets hit, you can take advantage of it, right? And so when Courtney talks in a second, and she's anxious to put me on the spot and ask me a question right now, but when Courtney talks in a second, she's going, I'm going to say a spoiler alert, she's going to say, this is my buy box. There will be a list, a criteria on the screen of what Courtney is buying. If you pay attention, there is opportunity that's going to happen in about 45 minutes when Courtney tells you what her buy box is. All you have to do is pay attention. And I can't stand it when I hear real estate professionals say, I'm slow, I can't find any business. Go to real estate meetups, spend time with Courtney, listen to what they're saying. They're being creative on how they're solving real estate problems, and there's opportunity out there if you're not pigeonholing yourself into this cookie cutter, first mortgage, residential game that everybody's been playing over the last couple of years, because it has. It's been hot, and there's been no reason not to. Take advantage of it. But now it's time to pivot, and Courtney's going to tell us about that. I'm going to get you on the mic in just a second, I promise.
I'm all good.
So because we were planning on having a panel today, I am substituting for the assessor, who didn't show up. So what I did is I asked a couple of guys and girls that are in the insurance world to ask some questions. And I asked them to make them softballs for me and Kim, because I'm going to help you out here, buddy.
Thank you.
Okay.
They already said they were going to come at me. That's how they introduced themselves.
Well, I think it's good that you're going to be able to hear what the real estate professionals are thinking, right? I mean, there is a whole segment of the world, the buyers and sellers, that auto's going up, homeowners going up.
That's right.
And they need reform. We need reform, and there's no doubt. The insurance commissioner came last year and talked about what his plans were, but he can't do it by himself, right? So why don't you tell a little bit about what you're doing in the legislature to try to affect change?
Awesome. Thank you, Jared. And I want to start by just thanking Jared and Stephanie and really the team at Arena. Our community is better because of what you do, and I'm grateful for you. And then for all of you,
I'll give him some knuckles.
For all of you as well. And I hate to say, like, I really understand your plight, but I really do, because my profession is I'm a banker. I work at Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, and so I know that what you do as a real estate professional or in any of the ancillary or affiliated fields with real estate is that you are trying to serve your clients' needs by getting them to the closing table, right? Everybody wants to get that deal done because that's how they achieve their dream of home ownership. That's how you get the deal closed and paid. That's how our title attorney friends get paid. And that's how mortgage lenders get paid, and the paper is made, and the bank makes their money, and everybody wins when we get them to the closing table. And how many times have you seen, and have we seen, that a deal really should work in every aspect, right? It cash flows, the property appraises the way that you expect it to, the buyer wants to buy it, the seller wants to sell it, and everything is working, and then we get the insurance the insurance premium and the deal falls apart, right? And everybody throws their hands up and says, I don't want to do this deal because we can't afford the insurance. Or in the scenario that you mentioned, we have a homeowner who purchased their home with a fixed price because everybody we have limited resources in our life, and we have our paycheck and whatever savings and other resources that we have for monthly revenue, and we build our life around that payment. And when that payment goes up because taxes go up or insurance goes up, then we're really in trouble. And so I feel it from that point, because professionally I've seen deals both residential and commercial fall apart, and they continue to do it. And if it's okay with you, I want to tell you just a really quick story of how I came to understand this in a very real way. About a year ago is when we kicked off our campaign to run for the state legislature. And so we kind of, as a team, put our plan together, and we were talking about all the things that we deeply cared about and that we thought were going to be important in the campaign. And they are, and they still are. But, we were going to work on tax reform, and we were talking about how we grow jobs and how we improve education outcomes and healthcare access, and all of those things are still really important. And we started because just like your job and as a real estate professional, a campaign, you have to convince people to like you and to support you and to vote for you, right? And it's a real relationship-driven business. And so it starts by you go door to door, knock, and you've had this happen to you, right? Like somebody knocks on your door, and now with the advent of Ring doorbells and Nest and all, we don't always answer the way we used to. And so that makes it harder for folks that are running for office. But literally I was going to the door and I was trying to talk about these things that I thought were important about jobs and kids and our future and having opportunity and prosperity and educational outcomes and how we could improve those. And you know what people were talking to me about? Insurance. And I came home that first day and my team was like, how did it go at the doors? And I was like, I think like 8 out of 10 people wanted to talk about insurance. And then I went the second day and it happened again and it happened again and again and again. And I said, y'all, I don't think we need to spend any money on polling. Like insurance is a major deal. People were getting their renewal rates in. And then I'm not teasing you. I mean, it was like such serendipitous timing. We were filming a commercial spot for our campaign on the topic of insurance because we had heard it over and over and over. And people were showing us their renewals, right? Or they were being dropped. And I got my renewal in while we were filming at a friend's house on insurance. And I opened up that email and I was like, oh, please, please let it be affordable. And my homeowner's insurance went up over 300%. And a home I had never filed a claim on, right? I still have like a Katrina roof, you know? Like I need a new roof. It's probably lived its natural life. And it is absolutely unaffordable. And I screamed, I ran outside and screamed and I said some words that I don't typically say in my life. And I called my agent and I said, this is unacceptable. You better be shopping this out because I can't afford this. And I want to see 10 more quotes. And she, you know what she told me basically, Jared, was to shut up and pay it because I needed to be thankful that I had not been dropped, right? And she said, because that's the case, and there are no other options, right? And we literally have spent several months trying to shop this. And, my insurance friends that I just met that said they were going to come at me when they introduced themselves to me know what I'm talking about. There aren't many options in our state. And so that has really driven kind of the work of the legislature right now in focusing on what is really the largest crisis that I think we face as a people, as an embattled state, which is, it affects everything we know. It's commercial commerce, it's residential commerce, it's the fact that people can't live here. And where we live, where we're very close to the border in Mississippi, and you think about parts of our state like Shreveport, large metropolitan areas where they have access to Arkansas or Texas, businesses have options and they can move just across the border. Sometimes, if your business is in Slidell or Pearl River, it's not far to just go over and incorporate in Mississippi the same hurricane risk, the same hurricane exposure, the same storm damage, the same weather that we have. Like everything is literally the same and their insurance is significantly less. So what is wrong with us, right? And that kind of sort of formulates kind of how we have been approaching this in the legislature.
Yeah. So I know that you recently authored a bill that went, and it got through the House, right? And the Senate? Is that the case?
Yeah. The insurance one?
Yeah.
You want me to talk about that for a minute?
Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah. So I have, well, let me back up first and say that there is a package of bills for insurance. And the Speaker of the House, who kind of leads the House, and the President of the Senate, who leads the Senate, decided very early on we were going to prioritize insurance bills above everything else in the legislature. And you may not believe that if you read the paper, but I'm also here to tell you now that I'm in the building, don't believe everything that you read in the paper. And so we ran a package of bills that are models of each other, almost identical in the House and the Senate. We call them companion bills. And so a senator would introduce it on the Senate side, and there would be almost the very same bill in the House introduced in the House side. And so on the House, we would run it through a committee and run it through the House, and then it goes over to the Senate, and then the same thing was happening on the other side of the building. In the Senate, it would be introduced, it would run through a Senate committee, then on the floor of the Senate and come over to the House. And we did that in case any of the bills failed. We wanted the whole package to get all the way through the process. And we've had to suspend the rules a couple of times so that we could move those bills quickly. And we wanted them to go to the governor as early as possible because the reinsurance market, and my insurance friends over on the side are well aware of this, a lot of that pricing happens annually, right? And we wanted the governor to sign those bills by the time that the reinsurance market is coming in for renewal, so that they could see that Louisiana was serious. And so I have a bill that is in the insurance commissioner's package. And as Jared mentioned, it was introduced in House Insurance Committee. It sailed through there. It passed off the floor of the House by a wide margin yesterday.
Nice.
We introduced it, thank you. Yesterday we introduced it in Senate Insurance. It passed Senate Insurance without objection. And so the last step before it goes to the governor is the full floor of the Senate. So I expect that to happen next week. And then we'll go to the governor's desk for signature. And it is a regulatory sandbox bill. And so that sounds like it's not serious, right? Because you're like, sandbox sounds like what kids play in with shovels and dump trucks. But it actually is a pretty serious bill. A regulatory sandbox is a short-term, very controlled waiver or pilot program framework that the insurance commissioner can use to test products, services, pricing structures, and delivery models for insurance products that would not otherwise fit our regulatory regime. And so it's a signal to the insurance market that says, hey, if you have a product, if you have a service, if you have a delivery method, if you have an accounting structure, if you have a pricing model that you wouldn't come to Louisiana with because it doesn't make sense with our rules, with our bulletins, with our directives in the insurance coming out of the Department of Insurance, or with our statutes, you can bring that to the Department of Insurance and we will test it in a small scale model, can't affect more than 10,000 clients. It happens with the guardrails of public input and disclosure, with reports to the germane committees in the House and the Senate for oversight. The insurance commissioner can run that product, and if there is success with it, then we can legislate around it. We can make it a new product or a new service through statute, or the insurance commissioner can issue new bulletins, new directives to allow it. And I will tell you, he had some meetings with, I think, some reinsurance companies from Bermuda. Maybe he was telling this story yesterday in the Senate Insurance Committee, who said, we are watching all of your package of bills, but we're watching this regulatory sandbox bill because we have a flood product that we would like to bring to Louisiana that uses telemetrics. And I said, what are telemetrics? And he said, it's the use of these sensors, telemetric data that reports back to a company. And so it can measure the level of water that may enter a home. So for example, and I'm just going to throw numbers out, if a telemetric device indicated that a home had sustained 1 inch of flooding, then the company would know, we're going to go ahead and send the insured $10,000 without ever having to send out an adjuster and start that process, right? We're getting the data. And right now, Louisiana's insurance regulations would not allow that, but the sandbox, we can test those kind of things, right? And bring relief to the much and the long-suffering people of Louisiana.
So I know one of the things that the insurance commissioner said last year was that was the biggest struggle. Like the way most states operate when it comes to insurance is that somebody can bring in an insurance product to start selling it now, and then it gets evaluated by the insurance commissioner from that state, and then it gets approved or unapproved, and if it's not approved, then you can no longer write it. But in Louisiana, you have to submit it for approval, and then wait for it to be approved before you can do it. And I think that's what is causing such a delay, because we're not allowing these insurance companies to come in and start writing policies until they've been approved, and by the time it's approved, things have changed to the point that it's not really applicable anymore. So, is there anything going on in Baton Rouge that how to change those things?
Yeah, when I was talking about that package of bills, that I think it's a dozen bills, and I apologize, I don't have them all memorized, but I have them on my phone if any of you want to talk specifics about those bills. But there's a bill about file and use, and it basically, as a matter of fact, let me just read it to you.
Here, I'll keep talking. You want me to sing? You ever heard the song Remix to Ignition? That's my song if you want me to sing a little bit. I'll wait. No, we'll wait. After this, we're going to have tacos and margaritas, I might sing Remix to Ignition after that. Me and Brendan together.
It actually, I just couldn't remember the bill number. It's Senate Bill 295, and it was basically passed unanimously in both the House and the Senate. And what it says is that rates and information submitted by insurance carriers are considered approved unless the commissioner then notifies them after the fact that there's a problem, and then they would have to refile. All right? And so it's like we're going to give the carriers the benefit of the doubt and say, go ahead, get to market, go ahead, you're approved, and then within 30 days, the insurance commissioner will let you know if there's an issue or if there's a problem. And so it gives the department a lot of leeway to get that done. So that was really one significant. When the insurance commissioner kind of prioritized that package, there were 4 bills. One was the 3-year rule. This file and use bill was another.
And if that passes, how long until, when will it pass? I'm going to start being used.
Well, we did all of the insurance package again first, and they're on their way. A lot of them have passed and are on their way to the governor for signature. And we have the ability when we draft legislation to set its effective date, and the insurance package is effective upon the signature of the governor.
Very cool.
So a lot of times legislation won't be promulgated until August. And again, we didn't want to miss that window with the reinsurance market, to miss the opportunity. We needed to send a signal in Louisiana that we were serious, about this. And so that's why we ran those bills fast. That's why we're trying to get them to the governor's desk as quickly as possible, and we want them to take effect upon his signature.
I know another issue is that there are these asshole attorneys around here that like to file lawsuits against insurance companies. I don't know how you can stop that from happening, but is that part of the conversation, litigation reform? I know you don't have to go too deep into that, but is that something y'all are talking about too?
Yeah, it is, and I would tell you this. I really appreciate you bringing it up because it is a substantial part of the problem. In December, after I was elected, I went with the insurance commissioner and Senator Kirk Talbot, who chairs our Senate Insurance Committee, and Susan Bourgeois, who's now our Secretary of LED from right here in Covington, the Louisiana Department of Economic Development. We all were there to meet with folks from Lloyd's of London. And Lloyd, the folks at dinner were telling us one night, they were like, it's easy for us to offer reinsurance for risk, and we even would like to be in Louisiana. We've been in Louisiana historically for a long time because we know, Jared has a $1 million house, and I know I'm underselling you,
Yeah,
but Jared has a $1 million house, and if it burns down, we know what our risk is, to replace Jared's $1 million house and the contents of his house. And we know how to measure risk for hurricanes because we've got a lot of benchmark data, and we know how to, for hailstorms and all of these things, we know how to measure our risk and how to price that appropriately. You know what we don't know how to measure? How we're going to get sued into oblivion. And so legal reform is a substantial part of it. And I will tell you that those bills for legal reform, and oftentimes it's called tort reform, but I call it legal reform, those bills sailed through the House by large margins. Y'all, we have 105 members in the House of Representatives from all over the state. You can't get 105 people to agree that the sky is blue, right? Like generally somebody's going to disagree, or where to eat lunch. But by large margins, we passed these legal reform measures, and they're stuck right now in the Senate. And there were committees that heard it in Senate Judiciary A. When we have a problem in that committee, and they're trying to water down these bills, and now is the time for all citizens in our state who pay these high prices and have paid the price for a long time from billboard lawyers that sue insurance companies into oblivion. Now is the time to register your complaint, right? You need to lean in on the senators in Senate Judiciary A. So on legis.la.gov, you can look on Senate committees and look at the members of Senate Jude A and email every one of them and call their office and say, it is not okay. We can't do this. We can't continue to operate our business. You are impacting my life and prosperity and opportunity for my kids and the growth and the success of my business by your unwillingness to be brave and courageous and tackle legal reform. It is a part of insurance reform. And if we pass this 10 or 12 package of bills that are strictly on insurance, we'll see success. It's going to take a little while. It's not a light switch. And Lord willing, we're not going to have any more hurricanes for a while. Louisiana needs to catch its breath, but we have to do the other. We have to do the legal reform. And if they don't hear from you, then they don't know, right? And so if you care about it and you want to continue to grow your business and you want to help people achieve the American dream of home ownership, and you want to grow your business and you want our quality of life here in St. Tammany Parish to continue to be great, and my friend Whitney and I were talking about this before, we're so fortunate and blessed here, right? Like I look around outside and we have such a lovely, beautiful community where we live, and commerce happens here, so sometimes we don't realize it. You don't have to drive very far from here, 20, 25 minutes, and you can see our state in economic free fall and collapse. And now is the time for us to lean in and get these things done. This is the moment we have. You have supermajorities in the House and the Senate who are willing to do this and who ran on it. You have a governor who received campaign contributions from the trial bar, and he's hesitant. But if we put the bills on his desk, I think he will sign them. I can't speak for him, but I think he'll do it. And so we have to lean in right now. Now is the moment to the senators that serve on Judiciary A.
That was awesome. Y'all can't call attorneys assholes. I can do that because I am an attorney. But you can send them an email and let them know how you feel about it. All right, so that was great. We went over a little bit, but if we have a couple of questions, Sabrina, you have a question?
I just wanted to make a comment. You know, what we do matters. What we do makes a difference. And they want to hear from us.
Yep.
And oftentimes the bills that are presented will shift tide one way to the other when they hear from constituents, because they may be on the fence on how to vote. Have you seen it, Kim?
I have, over and over and over.
So House Bill 428 was conceived by a realtor. It is an insurance bill that was presented the Wednesday of the tornadoes. It was part of Realtor Day. It just coincidentally happened the same day, but it was so exciting to be part of seeing that vote before the House for vote, and unanimously it lit up green. It didn't get a lot of publicity, but I'm thinking it's part of this package that you're referring to.
It is.
It was conceived at an HBA meeting in January by Andrea Tyler, who is an agent on the South Shore. She's very plugged in, so many of you probably know her. She asked Tim Templeton, hey, you know, it just occurred to me that if my clients are forced to have Louisiana citizens policy because they're the insurer of last resort, they're also forced to have the same content coverage that they have on their structure. How many of y'all have $300,000 worth of stuff in your house? Not many. So, he said, you know, I don't know the answer. Write that up. So we quickly went to the other side of the room and said, Delisha, can you help me with this? She said, call my people. And there it went. And from there, from January till what were we in March, mid-March, it was authored, it went through committee, and for a minority woman to get an insurance bill cleared through committee and onto the House floor in that amount of time was monumental. And it started with a realtor. So I want you to know what we do matters, and they want to hear from us, and if you don't like it, change it.
That's right.
Thank you. All right, I think we have time for one or two questions. So, Brett, what you got?
Hey, Kim. I was the one that I said I was going to grill you, but I just learned that you're a banker. I'm a mortgage lender, so we have a lot in common, so I'm not going to treat you too long.
Thank you.
And also, you addressed something that I was going to talk about. The exact quote from Lloyd's of London, according to this article, says...
Get the mic closer.
A little closer, is that better?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. We're not climate deniers, but we're not afraid of hurricanes. We insure throughout the Caribbean. What we are afraid of is political instability and legal abuse. If you take care of that in Louisiana, you're going to be much better off.
Yeah.
So thank you for clearing that up before I brought that up.
Yeah, you bet.
But next thing I want to bring up, so Freddie Mac released national data, and for every $1,000 of home purchase throughout the country, Louisiana led the country, and it costs $10.60 in insurance to purchase a home. No other state was in the $10 range. We're
We're an outlier.
yeah, we're an outlier. But Mississippi and Alabama are 8.6 and $6.90, and Florida is $5.90. So what can we learn from other states and get consulting from these other Gulf Coast states in order to help our insurance get better?
Awesome. Great question, and a lot of times in Louisiana, we really pride ourselves on being unique and being different, right? And I think that is admirable in things like Mardi Gras and boiled crawfish, you know, and just sort of the laissez bon temps, la roulette kind of philosophy that we have about life. But being an outlier in things economic, education, healthcare, like this isn't good, right? And we talked about this a lot, and you all know, do any of you do real estate work in other states as well? Your businesses are in other states?
A lot of Mississippi.
A lot of Mississippi and Texas. We are surrounded literally by states that are growing in population and growing in jobs. Like the Southeast is going through a tremendous boom right now. Every single state is growing in jobs and growing in population except for one. And unfortunately, you're in it right now. And so we don't want to be the outlier, you know, and fortified roofs is a great example, right? And that was in the insurance commissioner's package as well. Alabama made a significant investment a number of years ago in their fortified roof program. And so they began to put some monies, you know, out for the public to say, we will help subsidize and provide grants as you go to do a roof, do a fortified roof, right? And all of you are probably familiar now with fortified roofing. If you're not, I hope you will. We just passed House Bill 120. It's gone all the way through the process. The program was initiated with about $25 million of seed money. We've added $5 million more. We're going to keep doing that because even with the tornadoes that we had the other day in Slidell, all of us were talking about, look, we're going to have a huge tranche of new roofs being put on houses in Slidell. Now's the time to go with fortified roofs, right? And so I even think about those of you that are in home inspection business and those of you that are realtors, like if the roof needs to be replaced, encourage your clients to do a fortified roof. There's grant money available to help subsidize the cost, but this is how we start leaning in on resilience, and it made a difference in Alabama. It made a huge difference in Alabama's insurance cost and the premiums and premium discounts and rebates that are available for the people in Alabama. And so that's what we have to do. We have to look at our neighbors and see where they've had success and model that and quit being the only one. You know, I got really angry, Jared, when I started reading, because we were in the debates, and I started reading the paper, and my wife was like, why are y'all doing this 3-year rule? Like, it seems really mean. Y'all know what I'm talking about when I talk about the 3-year rule?
Explain it real quick.
So in Louisiana, we have this unique, and again, it's another outlier issue where we have this thing called the 3-year rule, and it was put in place with really good intentions. Like, we don't want everybody to be dropped when there's a major storm or catastrophe. And so it basically said, if you have had a renewal as an insurance client for 3 years, 3 consecutive times, then you couldn't be dropped summarily by your insurance carrier. So we're basically taking away free market business decisions from insurance companies. And that never works well. And so it feels good to say, oh, you know, you're not going to be dropped by your insurance company if something bad happens. But the reality is insurance companies were looking at us and they said, Louisiana is the only state in the country that has the 3-year rule. 49 other states don't think this is a good idea. If this was a really good idea, Alabama, Texas, Tennessee, Florida, and others would be jumping on board. And they were saying, we don't want to come make money in your state because you have a 3-year rule. And so we're getting rid of the 3-year rule. It sounds on its face when you read it in the paper that it's anti-consumer. But nothing is more anti-consumer than not having any choice or option at all and not being able to insure a property and get it sold, right? And get to that closing table. And so we, all of us collectively in this space, in this lending space and the insurance space and in the real estate space, we have to start pushing back on that narrative. These things are not pro-insurance industry and anti-consumer, because right now, consumers don't have a choice in Louisiana. And I will tell you what's anti-consumer is not being able to purchase a house, you know? Not being able to afford your insurance, that's anti-consumer.
Yeah.
And so some of the things we are doing are to create a marketplace, because without a marketplace, without insurers writing policies in our state, we might as well turn out the lights.
100%. Well, that was awesome. If you have any other questions for Kim, he might hang out for a couple more minutes, but he's got to go to another appointment.
And happy to reach out to me anytime about your business.
I called him yesterday at 6 o'clock at night. He called me back in 20 minutes, so he really is available. If y'all have any questions for Kim, please let him know. He came here thinking he was going to have a wingman, and he got me. Thank you, Kim. Y'all give him a round of applause. Thank you for everything he's doing for us. All right, so we're going to jump right into Courtney, because she's got to go somewhere too, and then we'll start margaritas and tacos early today. So y'all stay in your seat. Appreciate you, buddy. Really do.
Thank you, Jared.